So resume. So we're talking about switch performance. So we did a backplane bandwidth. So a packet forwarding rate is the how fast. So if the packet forwarding rate is greater or equal so if the packet forwarding rate is greater or equal to the value calculated by the following formula. Okay, this does not make sense. But it's how fast the packets can be forwarded. So remember when you're talking about the OSI layer and the TCP/IP layer, so there was the frames and the packets. So the packet are used in the network layer, the frames is in the layer 2. So the packet forwarding rate. So Dahua supports wire speed forwarding. So it means if you say 10 Mbps, 10 Mbps switch. So that's the packet forwarding rate. Buffer is used. The buffer is a kind of storage that is used to store information before. It's like a stop place for the storage for the information while it's being transmitted. So the higher the buffer, the smooth the packet transmission, because no packets will be lost. It will be stored in the buffer. You can say cache, but cache is not buffer, it's different. So you can store in the buffer, then do resume transmission. So common features of switch, then we do requirement for video transmission. So common features for switches, PoE, power over Ethernet. So PoE is a technology in switches that is used to transmit power together with data. So you get to know transmit information. So those of us who have done IP phones or IP cameras, so you get to power the camera with only one cable at the same time, get to transmit some information with that cable. So the different versions of PoE exist. Dahua we have a PoE, even a feature known as ePoE. ePoE is a technology for Dahua that enable you to transmit to transmit devices power up to a distance of 800 meters. Yeah, wow. It looks false, but it's true. ePoE technology. So for the ePoE side, we have the terminologies like PSE and PD. So PD is basically what device you are powering. PSD is the source of power. So like a PoE switch will be a PSC. A PD is a power device. So it's good at times to use these terminologies to, at times it's good to confuse the customers. So you might get those clients that are very, very inquisitive and try to take much of your time into unnecessary information. You just use these terminologies, they'll get lost and avoid a lot of communication. So also the advantage of using such terminologies will, for your professional side, if you use this terminologies, it's good. It's a high boost your CV. So how PoE works: power up, operation, disconnect, reduce classification. So for PoE to work, it will have to, what the switch does, it sends information, gets to know device, how it can receive. So there's some core working principles of a PoE switch that you will get to not just 12. You get 12 volts out of this port. they'll need to do some negotiation. The same way you're going to do ARP requesting and ARP replies, the same way will be done with the PoE switch. So okay, we resume. So for different types standards for PoE, you have PoE plus and PoE normal PoE. So this the IEEE standard are 802 for PoE AF and 80 for A plus. So just to know which standards are these, because at times you would get to you are purchasing a device. If you don't know these terminologies, it's good to know them, because for cases of application, getting good devices, you need to know what device you're purchasing, get to read the information, and use that one to judge what the device can offer. So high PoE is a proprietary standard for DAHUA, which improves the maximum power supply output power to 60 watts. So for a standard PoE, we are using a 30 watts power output, while for high PoE in DAHUA, we are using a 60 watt output. So twice as normal as 4 times for PoE. So some PTZM DOM with IR features required large power supply. So also another situation. So these will help you while doing troubleshooting for cameras. So for the case whereby we had a client who had issues with the cameras at night, the IR are not powering on. The IR, remember, if you are joined us in our previous training, those are those infrared bulbs in the cameras, those sort of bulb things in the camera. So at night, the camera switches off. So the issue was that the client was using a power, but the client was powering in a long distance cameras. So the power was not enough. Power was not reaching the camera, because it was working normally at day, but at night not working. This is because IR uses more power, like more than 25 watts. That's considering for cases like PTZ cameras. So for that case, you need to ensure that your power supplying camera is very good. You can use a 60 watt for the high PoE. So a powered device, maximum PoE power 802.3 can offer 12.95, each can receive. So the switches outputs are 15 watts for 802.3 AF, and the device can receive up to maximum of 12. That's why you get this rating for 12 volts. But I think so. I'm not more into electricity, but it implies that. So PoE plus a watt output of 30, well, the device can receive up to 25. So it gives more, you receive more. So powered device undefined. So the reason why it's undefined is because different devices have different rating for power. Okay, I think I talked about this EPOE technology. So it's a standard for DAHUA, which adopts 2D. So those who have done engineering, there's the QAM, PAM. I don't remember this in full. Modulation. The phase amplitude modulation. If I'm not wrong, if someone who gets to know this, I don't remember, we learned in school. So it uses this coding, the physical layer, and realizes full duplex transmission at over 800 meters at 10 Mbps. So you get a speed of 10 Mbps for 800 meters. For this case, based on the theory that we did before about cameras, you can judge how many megapixels can be done with this 10 Mbps speed. So a maximum of 8 MP, if I'm not wrong. So you're going to do 8 MP, but to be sensitive, you do 6 MP. So 6 MP camera can support EPOE technology very well. Or a speed for 300 meters. So if you're going to do 300 meters, you're going to achieve 100 M. So it's a good technology. So the cameras, the price for this camera is not expensive. The EPOE technology. So you can search the models online. So if you want to buy such cameras, you can go to DAHUA security, then filter information on search, get to know which camera support EPOE, then you can proceed with purchasing in distributor. Also, apart from EPA, you also have EPA over coax. So use this one is Ethernet, normal. Remember this converter at this end side of the camera and this end. So you're using cogs here. Yeah, so you'll get to know which application that you're going to do, then proceed with purchasing devices that support EPA standard. A VLAN, short form for virtual local area network. So a VLAN is created by switches. So a layer 2 switch can do one VLAN, while a layer 3 switch can do more than one VLAN. So a VLAN is basically categorizing the devices into one logical network. STP. STP is a protocol that's used to avoid loops in the network. So STP will help you to avoid the packets rotating the network, and the end result you have the device shutting down because of the issue where you have packets only roaming the same network. So with the STP enabled, the switch will automatically close a link that is. Sorry, you cannot hear me well. So if you cannot hear me well, you can get at the chat section. So the STP will avoid loops in the network. What is link aggregation? Link aggregation. So what we're doing at the moment is the performance switch for switches. We are going through common features of switches. So another feature is aggregation. So this one is not limited to switches, because you can find a link aggregation in devices that support link aggregation, like NVR series 5. Some NVR models which have 2 network ports, or IVSS, have this feature for link aggregation. So what you do with the link aggregation, you combine all those ports to achieve one big port with higher speed. So you're getting a one logical port. Another topic we're going to cover in switch performance, we're going to do this protocol. Standard. So it's one kind of authentication method which is used to control network activities, just like access list and IP MAC address binding. An example will be a company's admin wants you to complete authentication before you can access the network. So 802.1x is used to do such kind of authentication. It's just a security mechanism in the network. So 802.1 is more strict than IP port VID MAC binding, because if some illegal users have taken someone's PC with the correct MAC address, illegal users can't access network without authentication information. So if you are maybe those who have done networking in wireless security, where you're doing MAC address binding, especially with devices like routers like Tender, where you get to do MAC address binding. So with this 802.1x standard, it's an added security to enable, if someone copies the MAC address for maybe client A who is a valid user, they will still not be able to access the network. A quality of service is used to categorize information. You remember when we're talking about data in the network, we have audio, we have video, we have text, different kinds of information. So quality of service will do prioritizing of the packets in the network. So to achieve high speed and achieve fluent communication. So where, like in a cases where you're doing voice, for those maybe you are doing link devices where you are going to do voice over IP, the quality of service at that scenario will be the voice. So you get to prioritize voice because you need to, if you're talking to someone, you don't want to talk to someone and expect a feedback after 5 seconds. So in a word, QoS help to provide better network service experience. So service in this case is about the different categories of data. If you're going to do audio, video, or text, or other types of data, do quality of service. So let's get to know what quality of service is, because at times you need to do configuration of QoS in some of our products. Port mirroring, I think some of you have been encountered with the port mirroring. So port mirroring is just used to create a copy of network packets on the network switch and forward the to another switch. It's a commonly used in devices that require monitoring systems and or real user monitoring, as used to support application performance management, etc. So you get information from mirroring PC. Oh, so you see PC2 is sending information. So what some information will go to internet and some other will go to another PC. It's just more of monitoring packets in the network. Routing. From the OSI layer and the TCP/IP layer, we are at the network layer. So routing is used to forward data between different local area networks. You remember when we were starting, we talk about LAN, MAN, and WAN. So routing will do sending packets between different LANs, sending packets between different MANs, and etc. So those are the basic part of networking that you need to know about the certification for that. Video requirements for video transmissions. So for this case, we have a camera. We have the IP system HDC via the monitoring session connected with each other with the switches. Sorry. So when we're talking about streams, we talked about iframe, pframe, and bframe. So iframe, they are the least compressed, but don't require other video frames to decode it. This is because iframe is just a full picture image. Pframe, they are use data from previous frames to decompress and more compressible than iframes. So pframe will consist of less data than iframes. Then bframe, they are used both previous and forward frames for data reference. So if you begin with a iframe at the, let's say if you're doing to 25 FPS, so frame 1 and the 25th frame will be the iframe. The second frame and maybe second to 23rd frame will be the pframe, and the bframe will be 24th frame. So the bframe will use the pframe and the iframe for reference of data. So also, this for those of us who joined us last week. So we have different streams for camera. So we have mainstream. So there are real-time stream. That's the way you get to view as it okay. There's the storage stream, substream. So substream exists as substream 1, substream 2. So when you have multiple iframes from several IP cameras come out from the uplink port of the switch will drop some frames if the bandwidth or buffer is not enough. So typically while doing configuration in your network or doing interconnection between different cameras, ensure that you are doing the uplink. This is the uplink with the highest speed connecting the recorders. So typically you'll connect your recorder here with the uplink port. The same reason with the uplink or the SFP port. Or maybe if this was a gigabit Ethernet switch, So to avoid those some frames from being dropped, and also to avoid those cases where you have a person moving, then all of a sudden you see the person in another place. So if you drop the iframe, which is the frames that consist of the actual data, you will get the experience where you have the lagging. The appropriate utilization of switch. Because iframes and other factors, the data rate of the IP camera is not always the same. So sometimes you have the camera giving an output twice what it usually does. So we should not only consider the data rate for IP cameras, but also consider the burst video stream. So you calculate the data rate for all IP cameras, you consider the burst video stream, then we choose the proper switch for suitable capacity. So like while getting the switch, you put yourself into a scenario where the camera will give its maximum performance. So you put everything into high, considering the bit rate, considering the resolution, then use that judgment to get to know the switch which you are going to use. So it's suggested that we reserve at least 50% bandwidth of the switch spot. For example, for 100 Mbps port, reserve 50 Mbps, or at least for 1,000. So you just like you're doing a 50% utilization of the switch. See, this is for the cases where you're doing uplink, if I'm not wrong. So summary. Okay, I think we're done. So is there anything clear that is not clear? Is there anything that anyone can add before we close with today's training? So I've enabled you to unmute yourself. If you have something to contribute, you can add. There's a question. Can also ask, so you can interact. So the session is being recorded. It will be available online in YouTube. You can download. And also I'm getting requests for the slides. So I'll talk to HQ. We'll try to make communication from HQ. Then I'll give you feedback on our next training, that is on Friday. So next week, Friday, I'll give you the feedback on whether you can get the slides or not. Because at the moment, the alternative is just the videos available online. So next week, Friday, I'll give you the feedback whether you can access the files. So if there's no any other question, concern, I think you can have a great day. It's a great weekend. Is Friday online? Yes, on Friday we'll do online, and Saturday we'll still do online. So as I told you before, we have a lot of area to cover. You see all these files. You need to do. We are complete with the technical basic. You can zoom the. So you see, we are done with the technical basic. All these slides, we are done with it. You need to do product introduction. But for this case, I'll rush with these ones because there's about SMB. Then there is the practical. Some slides some folders are very small. So you can see the certification itself is not not easy per se.
One more question.
Yes.
Okay, I would rather you said about the group back.
Yes.
So I would rather if we need loopback in camera installation, because as we know, we are just dealing with IP version 4. So so what's the use of loopback like?
Loopback IP, which section did I mention on that?
It was in section 1, in session 1.
Or the 127.0.0.1?
Yes, that's one.
So that IP address, if you ping that IP address, you can ping the IP with your computer. You'll get feedback even if you're not connected to any device. So it's used to test your network interface card of your computer, the one that you connect to the Ethernet. It's just a troubleshooting IP.
Okay.
Yes. Maybe there's any other question or concern? Something someone needs to add on what we have presented before we wish the Manchester United and the EPL. We have quite a lot of games today. So any other contribution on the same? If not, thank you guys for joining us. So I hope at the end you guys get certified. I mean, certification is good when you build on your skills. If you build on your skills, it's not something that someone can take away from you. So you invest in your skills, considering this one is a free certification, and the coming certification will after doing the VSS one, we proceed with more certification and enable you to be able to do even corporate size and large size projects and applications. Okay, if not so, you guys now have a nice day. So for any inquiries and any question, you can reach out to me from my number or email. So we also do support. So as I told you before, our team is growing. So in the next 3 weeks or 2, we'll have more technicians. So we'll not be the one presenting. We'll have more people presenting, more support from their side. So from our side, we try to give you the best. We try our best. Basically, what we do, try our best. Okay, if not so, you can have a nice day. Have a nice weekend.